Hi everyone, Lilith here again. This is the review video for lecture 6. And this video will probably be a bit shorter than the other ones since it contains a lot of definitions and some research studies that we went over that I tried to condense for you with the important points and main takeaways. So it'll just be me going over some stuff that I've written up that will hopefully be a good review for you all. So lecture 6, we started by talking about protein quality, and protein quality is basically defined in these three things. Does this protein source support growth? Does this protein source contain essential amino acids? And how well can this protein be digested and absorbed? So that is how protein quality in food sources is evaluated. And there are three mathematical ways that you can compare protein sources from different foods. And the first one is the protein efficiency ratio, which is PER. And this comparing technique uses the weight gained by a mouse after being on a certain protein diet divided by the amount of protein consumed. So this tells you how efficient is this protein in, weight gain in this case. The total amino acid score, sometimes referred to as TAA score, takes the amount, usually taken in milligrams, of all essential amino acids in 1 gram of the protein of the food that you're interested in calculating, divided by the milligram of all essential amino acids in 1 gram of protein in an egg white. An egg white is used as the standard because it is very rich in many types of amino acids, essential amino acids, and whatnot, and so on. So egg white is used as the standard of calculating the quality of protein that other food sources have. And the third is the chemical score. And the chemical score is using the amount of the limiting essential amino acid in the protein divided by the amount of that same limiting essential amino acid in egg albumin. And albumin is a protein in the egg. That's what makes the egg whites white when the egg is cooked. And if we take the essential amino acids in albumin, then that is what is used for the denominator of this calculation of the chemical score. Now, I'm pretty sure Dr. Hampton said that you probably won't be calculating anything on the exam. Just know the differences between these three evaluation techniques, and just know the definitions and what the small equations entail, okay? Then we talked about some research studies, and overall, the first few research studies that we looked at, or the first one, revealed the fact that many people now know, right? Vegetables and whole grains equal a healthier dietary pattern than red and processed meats do. And so this strongly suggests that diets that contain more of vegetables and whole grains end up in the person just being overall healthier than when consuming a lot of red or processed meats. Now, one of the prominent research studies that we looked at was this longitudinal study that was 7 years long, and they shadowed about 2,000 people or 1,700 people for 7 years, and they tracked to see how they are doing. Some of them were eating animal protein, so protein that comes from animal sources such as meat, and some others were eating protein that comes from plant-based diets. And this study concluded that protein from animal sources are associated with obesity, whereas plant-based protein is not. Then further into the lecture, we also found out that the study revealed that the individuals that had protein from animal sources also showed increased risk for type 2 diabetes, whereas that wasn't the case for plant-based protein consumption. Then we looked at another research study that used a cohort of many nurses, and I call it the nurse cohort research study. Hopefully you remember it that way. And this revealed that many diseases are associated with animal and plant protein. I think I missed a word here. Give me a second. Let me find the purple. There should be an and here. Oh, too thick. Hold on. So this study basically said the association between disease and the type of protein diet you are on, right? Whether animal or plant protein, it depends on other lifestyle factors. And if I remember correctly, the study said that the diseases that were revealed through the study, these people also had one other condition, so either heavy smoking or not exercising or anything like that, that was tied with their diet. And I guess it was interesting because this study in specific, the nurse cohort study, didn't have, to my understanding at least, didn't have a strict finding like this one did, like this research study did, right? This study concluded that everything else that you do in your life, right, other lifestyle factors also affect your health conditions and the diseases that you may acquire, along with the type of diet you are on, animal or plant protein diets. Hopefully that made sense. I hope I didn't butcher it, but shoot me an email if you're listening to this and that didn't make sense. But even though this research wasn't very conclusive, regardless, meats do contain a lot of saturated fats. And as we will talk about in lecture 7, saturated fats aren't the best type of fats that you would want to have in your diet. Also, the processed foods, or the processed meats, contain a lot of processing chemicals to keep them processed and so that they can last longer on the shelf. And meats, or I guess I should say red meat and processed meats, are more prone to increase IGF factor 1, which is insulin growth factor, insulin-like growth factor. So overall idea, more vegetables, grains, nuts, and protein from those type of sources are much, much better than meat source proteins. However, not all plant products, right, or plant derivatives are without problems. For example, gluten, which is a plant polypeptide, is problematic for some people. And if you haven't watched the review video for lecture 5, please go ahead and watch it because I covered this over there, review video 5. Basically, there are people, I'll just say it again. Basically, there's people who are sensitive to gluten, right? Gluten sensitivity is present in some individuals, and celiac disease is a type of or a form of gluten sensitivity where your gut is taking gluten into your bloodstream and your system, and your immune cells attack the gluten because they think it's an invasion of some harmful microbe or harmful foreign body. And because of this, a massive inflammatory response is spiked, and the cells of the gut actually become destroyed. So that is what celiac disease is. However, there is also non-celiac gluten sensitivity, where individuals are still gluten sensitive and they avoid gluten in their diets. However, they don't particularly suffer from celiac disease. Okay, so that's the overview of gluten, but I think I explained a little more in the review video 5. So if you would like to know more about that, do visit that. It's towards the end of that video. But here I will move on to talk a little bit about fats. This is the beginning of us talking about fatty acids, and this will continue on into lecture 7. But let's have a little bit of an introduction here. So fatty acids, the general makeup of a fatty acid is having a carboxylic acid on one end and ending with a methylene, right, or a CH3 at the very end. We have a carbon chain, and these carbon chains can vary in length. If there are no double bonds whatsoever, so if this double bond wasn't here and this one wasn't here either, this would be a saturated fatty acid, so saturated. But because these double bonds are here, this fatty acid is an unsaturated fatty acid because it has 2 unsaturations. And this one has 3 unsaturations. Oh my god, unsaturations. And the fatty acids that have polyunsaturations, meaning more than one, for example, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, these are called PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs. And there are 2 essential fatty acids that the human organism cannot make, and those 2 essentials are linoleic acid, which has 2 unsaturations, and linolenic acid, which has 3 unsaturations. Now, the human cannot desaturate fatty acids. The human can desaturate fatty acids only up to omega-9 carbons. So omega-3s or omega-6 fatty acids aren't able to be made in our organism. That is why they are essential, meaning that we need to consume it in food sources. And for anyone who is unfamiliar with omega, I think I skipped it. So omega, think of omega as end, right, at the end. So at the end of the fatty acid chain, we start counting the numbers. For example, 1, 2, counting the carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So linoleic is a omega-6 fatty acid because it is the 6th carbon that has the first unsaturation. And same here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is also omega-6. Okay? And the way these fatty acids are named is the first number, 18, tells us how many total carbons there are in the fatty acid. The 2N denotes 2 unsaturations, so 2 double bonds. See right here, we have 3N because we have 3 double bonds. And the 6, often written as -6 or omega-6, just show that if we count from the very end, it will take us 6 carbons to get to the first double bond. Okay. Let's see. Now, why are these one second. Linoleic, linolenic. I think I've made a mistake here. This is not linolenic because linolenic should be omega-3 fatty acid. Yeah, scratch that. I'm gonna delete this. Sorry about that. So this isn't linolenic. So linolenic should be an omega-3 fatty acid. And you can find the structure of it in the lecture notes. Sorry. Okay, let's carry on. So linoleic acid is omega-6, linolenic is omega-3. And these are important because they give rise to these other fatty acids. Linoleic gives rise to arachidonic acid. Linolenic gives rise to EPA. And each of these are used to derive other molecules that are important in different processes. And what are those processes? So arachidonic acid gives rise to prostanoids and leukotrienes that are important in pro-inflammation. Okay, and blood clotting. I think oh my gosh, this lecture is a mess. I'm gonna delete this because it's the same. Okay, but I will write it for you here. So arachidonic acid gives rise to pro-inflammatory molecules that are blood clotting, and omega-3 linolenic acid gives rise to anti-inflammatory molecules that are blood thinning. Okay. And here is a scheme that I really like because it shows every step of turning linoleic acid into arachidonic and linolenic into EPA and then further into DHA. So definitely look at these two schematics and definitely have them in your notes available to you, because you just want to remember that linoleic gives rise to arachidonic, and linolenic gives rise to EPA and DHA. Okay. I definitely flew through that, so please email me if you have any questions on anything or if you want further clarifications. One thing I should also mention is cyclooxygenase enzymes, or short for COX. Those are the enzymes that are responsible in turning these essential amino acids that are turned into arachidonic acid and EPA. Cyclooxygenase enzymes turn them into the prostanoids and leukotrienes that are later used in pro-inflammatory processes or anti-inflammatory ones. I think this is it. Sorry I messed up over here and over here, so please ask if you have any questions that I can clarify. And with that, this will be it for lecture 6, and lecture 7 is on its way.